Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're in the world. Tyrus Bain here. Welcome to the Definition of Anarchy. It's not going to be a long live. I just had a question. Has anybody seen, or has there been a public appearance of Governor Gavin Newsom in the last 3 weeks? Apparently a few weeks ago, he got the booster shot. And he hasn't been seen publicly since. Not one time. He was supposed to go to the, climate change summit or whatever the case may be. Oh, excuse me. He was supposed to go to the climate change summit. And he was even supposed to do a Zoom call. But he didn't even do that. And then keep right. Here it is 3 weeks later. And he is nowhere to be found. And it just so happens that this happened right after he got the Modelo 19 booster shot. Now, one would wonder, would his disappearance have anything to do with said booster shot? Well, I don't know, but whatever happened to him, and then keep right onto he ain't nowhere to be found. He hasn't been going out. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't been seen with his kids. He hasn't been seen anywhere eating. You know what I mean? He hasn't made any public appearances. None of that shit. I don't believe in coincidence. So, and correlation is not causation. But this is some hell of a correlation right here. You got all these so-called leaders and representatives. They're getting these injections and all this, that, and the third. And they expect you to do the same thing because they stepped up to do it and they're doing their duty to protect others from Modelo 19. Well, we know that's all a bunch of bullshit. We know, right? It's not about public safety. And by the way, the government is not responsible for public safety. All right. The government is not responsible for ensuring my safety. The government is essentially responsible for protecting our rights and protecting us perhaps from foreign invaders. You know what I mean? And there's no purpose to government. Let's just bottom line to it. There is no purpose to government. Let's just be real about that shit. We can protect ourselves from foreign invaders. There's things that we can establish without government. I've always said this. And Governor Newsom not being anywhere to be seen, not going to work, not doing anything, it's just like, did California collapse on itself in the last 3 weeks that during the time that Governor Newsom hasn't been around? No, everybody's been functioning fine without him. We haven't had effectively a governor in 3 weeks. We have, a lieutenant governor, but basically, there's no need, right? If the federal government dissolves right now, I promise you, if the government dissolves right now, you would not feel the effects for a while. But what would happen would be, there would be a hell of a power vacuum in every state. You would have that. You would have, you'd have the military trying to figure out how to, distribute itself among the states with the state's help. I mean, you would just have to coordinate it accordingly. But I wonder, when will Governor Newsom be back? And when is he going to run this state again? You know what I mean? That's all I want to know. And I just want to know that he's okay after having gotten the jab. I just want to make sure he's all right, that he's not, falling over somewhere or blood clotting or, pericarditis and all that other shit, myocarditis. We don't want any of that to happen to the illustrious governor of California, even though he wants to force your children to be injected with this crap. We don't want nothing bad to happen to Governor Newsom, right? Even though he's attacking our children with these mandates, we just want him to be okay, right? No, we're not going to be petty. We're not going to be petty because he wants to keep our children from being able to go to school without getting a jab. And by the way, if anything is going to encourage parents to homeschool, I don't mind that being the thing. I don't mind those mandates being the thing that encourages parents to homeschool their children. They figured it out last year, right? When there were all these shutdowns. Most parents didn't think they'd be able to handle it. But they figured it out. You know what I'm saying? Every parent that I knew that had to homeschool their children, their head didn't explode. At the end of the day, people were okay with their children being homeschooled last year during the shutdowns and earlier this year. They were all right. No one, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, they try to say that there was some depression in the kids and all that other shit. But, kids have been getting depressed at least since Common Core started. So this uprise in child depression and suicide has already been on the upswing in the last few years. They try to blame it on, kids not going to school or whatever. But this has been a long time developing, all right? Governor Newsom wants your children to be forcibly injected. And he's not going to tell you, he's not strapping you to a bed, right? They're not strapping you to a bed and forcing a needle in your arm. No, they're coercing you. They're giving you false choices. And in this instance, you know what? Pull your kids out of goddamn school, man. If you're in California or if you're in a state where they require your child get injected with this stuff and you don't want them to have it, do the bold thing. Figure it out. Figure it out. You know what I'm saying? You might have the downside. You might have to, go into a smaller home. And if you're buying if you're in the process of buying a home and you can't, well, shit. You know what I'm saying? Figure it out. We did. Me and my wife did. I started my children. My wife has never worked since we've been together. And this was when I was making $14 or $15 an hour as an electrician. And I had the only income. I was an apprentice electrician making about $14, $15 an hour. And I was able to provide for my wife and myself and my daughter, making $15, $16 an hour. You know what I'm saying? Paying rent. You know what I mean? I was able to do it. I just had to change my lifestyle a little bit so that we could all be comfortable. There's certain things that you have to change for the better of your children, right? And back then, there wasn't no Uber. There wasn't no DoorDash. You know what I'm saying? I was doing side jobs here and there whenever I could. I worked overtime whenever I could. I made it work because I wanted my children to be educated by my wife. I wanted my wife to be responsible for my children's education because I knew that she had the best interest of her children in her heart and her mind. She's best suited to teach my children. And she doesn't have teaching credentials. She doesn't have a PhD. She doesn't have a master's. She don't even have a bachelor's degree. She don't even have an associate's degree. But my children are constantly advancing in their learning. And my wife is also learning as she's teaching. As she's teaching my children, she's learning things herself. And these forced classes that they put you through, not forced classes, these standardized tests, you know, they homeschool children have to do these standardized tests more often in California because they're homeschooled and they don't necessarily trust you to educate your children.
About 2 miles.
So in order to keep the funding for the homeschooling programs that the state puts money into, there has to be testing like twice a semester. My children are always testing in the highest percentile of those tests. You know what I'm saying? So, and they're always like a grade or two above what the grade they're in. So, I mean, if my wife can do it, and if I can do it on a shoestring budget, y'all can do it. You know, they want you to think that you can't afford to homeschool your children. That's what they want you to think. But, you know, if enough parents get together and they say, okay, we're not dealing with this bullshit. You know, you guys, these parents show up to these meetings, you know, these school board meetings. If you go up to the school board meeting and talk to the parents at the school board meeting and come up with a plan to form homeschooling pods, you have something going right there. You just started a movement to encourage parents to homeschool their children. So you guys pull your resources together. You know, everybody has something going on. You know, everybody has their strengths and weaknesses that they can use to educate children, and you go from there. You know, get together with these parents at these school board meetings. You know, talk about how the system is failing your children. Excuse me. You don't want your children to be victims of sexual assault in bathrooms. You don't want your children to be taught sexual education where they're basically showing pornography to your children. You don't want your children to be institutionalized, because that's what you're doing when you send your children to school. You're basically sending them to an institution where if you put the inside of a classroom side by side with maybe I've seen, they've shown pictures and memes where the inside of a school is shown next to the inside of a prison, and they don't look that much different. So whether they're teaching your children to be institutionalized for the prison system or for the literal prison system, and then the slave ship, vis-a-vis the workforce, where you're taught to go to work every day and work for this other person and not have more going on for yourself. You know, some people are better suited to be employees. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with being an employee. But there's also nothing wrong with teaching your children how to be entrepreneurs, how to be self-sufficient, self-reliant, all that good shit. And then focus your kids' education on real life practical shit. Especially looking forward and looking back. Look back at the last 2 years. What's been happening in the last 2 years? Everything's starting to crumble, right? The supply chain's starting to crumble. You know, you can't get goods to save your life. Water is getting more expensive. Food's getting more expensive. You know, to me, that's pointing me toward, being more self-sufficient. Maybe my kids at a certain age, they'll start learning a trade as early as possible, so that when they become old enough to go into the workforce, or when they're old enough to start their own business, they already have a head start. Whether it be real estate, whether it be, a car mechanic, construction, nursing, whatever the case may be, start leaning their education toward that a little bit. Anyway, this Governor Newsom guy. See, people like him, they don't want your children to be prosperous. They want your children to be cogs in the wheel. So if Governor Newsom is, if he has an issue with this jab that he got, the booster shot, I mean, I can't say that I'd feel too bad for them. I won't be shedding a tear. Not that I wish harm. I don't wish that on anybody. I don't wish anybody to be adversely affected by these jabs. But if you have bad designs on children, then those bad designs will turn on you quick and in a hurry. If children, children are the most important thing in this world. They're the future, right? If it weren't for children, let's say this was like Children of Men, right? That movie. I've never seen that movie, but apparently it had to do with everybody was sterile, no one can have kids, except one person or some shit like that. And everybody wanted to have this one person that could have children. Anyway, if we were all in the Children of Men scenario, it'd be like, fuck it. What would be the point if we can't have children? If children are the future of humanity. But these people, they don't give a shit about the children. These board members for the FDA, they don't give a shit about the children. That approved the SNAP for emergency use for children 5 to 11. Why would you approve an experimental procedure
about 7/10 of a mile
for children at that age? Why would you do it? Why not wait? You already have 12 to 18 or 12 to 17 approved. You know what I'm saying? You already got ages 18 and up approved. Why do you need children 5 to 11 approved when they're in the lowest risk of being symptomatic with Medela 19?
Onto West Vernon Avenue.
Why? The odds of you having an adverse event, of your children having an adverse event from the Medela 19 hokey pokey is greater than your children even being remotely sick from Medela 19. Because ever since, from 5 to 11, since the pandemic started, only 100 children, I believe 100 children, were even had to be hospitalized. Hospitalized for Medela 19. So you see what I'm saying? And that's their whole basis for pushing this shit, right? All the reduced hospitalizations and the reduced deaths. Well, there's nothing that shows that that's even necessary for children. It's not even a thing for children to be adversely affected by the Medela 19 in any significant number. It's negligible. The amount of children that suffer adversely from Medela 19 is negligible.
To your destination.
It doesn't even justify emergency use of this shit for children 5 to 11. So why are they pushing it? And Governor Newsom couldn't even wait for the approval to issue this fucking a mandate where children 5 to 11 had to get injected with the Medela 19 hokey pokey before they can go to school. He couldn't even wait for their approval. And the FDA couldn't even wait for all the studies to be done, for all the years of study that they're not even due until 2027. Some of them. Years down the road, you're talking about 6 years from now. They have to complete studies by 2027. They want the studies to be ongoing until 2027. That's how long this shit takes. But you're going to authorize this shit for emergency use for children? Like, what kind of world are we living in? We're living in a world where they don't give a shit about children. And, as long as their children are good, as long as their lineage can go on, and they have a few, peasants out there, the few worker bees, the number that they need, the 500 million to maintain perfect balance on Earth and all this other shit. As long as they have that, they don't give a shit. You know, they probably gonna try to grow children that way at some point. You know, with this stem cell bullshit. They're gonna be trying to grow your children. They you know what I'm saying? At some, like hell, they don't even really necessarily need sperm to have children. They can grow children in labs if they want to, in artificial wombs. They can wear your child as a backpack. They can put babies in a backpack, fetuses. That's what they're working on. They'll work this CRISPR shit and all that shit.
Now finished.
CRISPR and all these motherfuckers, all these highfalutin scientific organizations that, you know, have all these scientific advances with gene therapy and all this shit. They want to grow children in a motherfucking lab. They want to grow children in little pods that men can wear around their belly and wear on the back, on their back and all that shit. They want to, you know, you can grow your child in the bedroom and look at it at night and say, oh, how cute. You know what I'm saying? Look at it developing and all that. Oh, look at the ears are coming in and all that other shit. It's just disgusting, horrible shit that they want. Like, this is ridiculous. So they don't even need your children. They can wipe all your children out as long as they have some DNA left. Some DNA and some eggs. That's all they need. They need the women because they got the eggs. So now they can get extract the eggs from the women. Excuse me. And grow children artificially. Hell, they might even one day be able to make eggs out of nowhere. Like, we don't know. Just out of DNA material. These motherfuckers are sick. Anyway, let me see what y'all talking about before I get out here. I just got home. Christopher Alexander was good. Derek C. Williams, which was good, brother. Mr. Rowe is no longer. Who's Mr. Rowe? Who's Rowe? Some failed political hopeful wished ill intent to those like me who haven't been jabbed. He died 2 weeks after his second injection. Ooh-wee. What you said, Rowe? Who is that? That mongrel has an adverse reaction, most likely. Yeah, probably. State-run schools are brainwashing centers. Yeah, dude is mixing biologics like DJ mixed records. Yeah. Black Spring with Autumn was good. Are they mixing the potion for the hit 3? Yeah, you can. They say, oh, get whatever one you want. Xander in the building. Robert Lynn Schultz is in the building. Lulu's in the building. Thank you guys for stopping by. Look at my wife. My wife is in the building with little heart eyes. It's all good. All the kids that died, other serious health issues. Yeah. It's highly likely you got saline. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. Anyway, yeah, make a plan and stick to it. Yeah, so I'm about to check out this Mr. Rocat. Xander said, I would like to work overtime as a single man to save up as much money as possible so I can move the way I want in the future, such as my goal of moving to South Africa. I have some friends that are moving to Africa. TF, what's up? What's up, TF? Well, what's up is Governor Newsom has been missing for the last few weeks, and we don't know where the hell he is. He got the booster, and then right after he got the booster, he disappeared. So I think my wife is in there making candles right now. Making candles for their little business. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. Go here, be with my family real quick, and I'm gonna holler at y'all later. Probably do another live stream tomorrow morning on the way to work. And if I hear anything about Governor Newsom, I'll let y'all know, man. We'll see what happened to him. All right, much love, like, share, subscribe, and let's keep marching forward toward freedom, people. Peace.